Okay, great. Thank you everyone for being here. Oh, we got a couple more in the waiting room. I'll wait just until they come in. I see some graduates, I see some scholars. Excellent. Okay, thank you all for being here. My name's Lynn Stillings. I'm here with Elisa Edmondson, and we are the Ashinaga USA team. Welcome to the second installment of our webinar series, African Success Stories. We're honored to have Mr. Abubakar Suleiman, who's the CEO of Sterling Bank in Nigeria, as our keynote speaker. And please note that we are recording the webinar today. We also have joining Luisa Duarte Silva, who has been advising our work since the inception of Ashinaga USA in 2014. And in attendance, we have friends of Ashinaga, we have current students and graduates. I see some incoming students in the audience, and some of our esteemed board members. We'd like to point one out especially and thank Duren Shaw and our board of directors for facilitating a new partnership with Sterling Bank for Ashinaga Scholar internships. And we've had a couple who've already started, so we'll hear from one of those interns today. For now, I'm going to ask Elisa to give a short overview of Ashinaga USA, our mission and our goals.
Thank you so much, Lynn, and thank you again to all of you for joining us today. As most of you know, Ashinaga USA has a two-pronged mission. So firstly, we select brilliant students like the ones we have here today from various communities in sub-Saharan Africa, and we advocate for them so that they can receive full scholarships at US universities. And we're very proud to say that we are good at that part of the mission. The second part of our mission is to help these amazing young people have the opportunity to return to their communities with important jobs and leadership positions. And it is this part of the mission where we are working on, but we still need your help. So we're hosting this webinar series to bring together inspiring professionals from the continent, like many of you in the audience, as well as from the diaspora in various areas of interest. And the goal that we foresee is that these individuals can not only network with each other, but inspire our students and graduates who attend these webinars as well. So as Lynn said, this is the second installment of our webinar series, and in the future, we plan to focus on even more topics like money transfer, technology and agriculture, healthcare access, etc. So before we get started, we have two asks of you. So we are seeking inspiring mentors who may enjoy connecting to one or two of our amazing students and guide their professional development. In addition to our website, I will link here the mentorship form. And then our second ask is we would be grateful for internship opportunities. So Duren, one of our board members, has initiated this partnership, as Lynn said, with Sterling Bank, and we would love even more of these partnerships as a pathway to employability in the continent for these young leaders, and as an opportunity for these young leaders to remain connected to their home in the summer, even remotely. So we are seeking your support and inspiring these young people to be successful professionals, and that we hope they will learn from being immersed in a different society like the US, and yet that they will remain proud ambassadors of their own heritage. So we hope that these leaders will be able to discern what to absorb from a different culture, for example, what to reject, and what to adapt to the African context, more importantly, with creativity and innovation. So if there's anyone that's interested in understanding a little bit more about our recruitment process or how we prepare the students to be successful at university and how we secure these scholarships, please feel free to send us an email. So that's a little bit about Ashinaga USA. Thank you again for being here, and I will turn it back over to Lynn.
Thank you, Elisa. Um, and just a reminder for those who have just joined a little bit late, we are recording this webinar. Mr. Abubakar, or sorry, Abubakar Suleiman, we are so honored to have as our keynote speaker, again, CEO of Sterling Bank in Nigeria, who the Sterling Bank, as Elisa said, is working with Ashinaga scholars and graduates to do internships this summer. And we're so grateful to hear from him directly. So, Mr. Suleiman, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background, some of your accomplishments.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Lynn, and to all the people working behind the scene to make this possible. Thank you. I'm going to be very brief. I like to introduce myself with the things I do outside work. I sit on a couple of couple of educational institutions on the board of trustee. I sit on the board of trustee of Nigeria's first distant learning university called MIVA University. We started about 18 months ago and we have 11,000 students now. I also sit on the board of one of Africa's most respected management school, the Lagos Business School, ranked top 50 in the world, and maybe 4 other educational institutions. So that's really where my passion lies. And the reason for that is because I attribute all of what I have been able to do to the opportunity I had to go to school. And I did go to school at the expense of the government. At that time, it cost me almost nothing. All I had to do was to be good enough, and I would get the chance to go through university. So I've poured myself back into that. But for my day job, I'm currently the managing director of Sterling Bank Limited. It is part of a group of financial services company that includes a non-interest or Islamic finance bank called the Alternative Bank, and an asset management company. And what am I passionate about apart from education? I'm trying very hard to bring technology into unlocking economic value, primarily because we are an informal society, and therefore a lot of the small businesses do not have the capacity to deploy technology on their own. So any corporate that has that access and can afford it must then extend technology beyond itself and its own internal use to its customers and to everybody that it interacts with. So my vision is to democratize access to technology so that we can increase productivity. And primarily, we focus on 5 areas. We call it a heart sector: healthcare, education, agriculture, renewable energy, and transport. I have 2 lovely daughters. One of them is 21 in university, and I've got a 9-year-old who lives at home with me. I think that summarizes me. And I am in Nigeria. I live in Nigeria. I've always worked in Nigeria. And hopefully I can share some of my other experiences with you during this speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we have one of our Ashinaga scholars, Salifu, at the rising senior at the University of Miami, who's doing an internship with Sterling Bank this summer. Salifu, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and your experience so far?
Of course. As Lynn mentioned, my name is Salif Husseini. A rising senior. I'm at the University of Miami studying computer science. I'm originally from Ghana, by the way. This summer, I've had an incredible opportunity to intern with Sterling Bank, thanks to Mr. Suleiman, where I've been working with the enterprise observability, and availability departments, working as an observability engineer intern. I've been working on a really exciting project where I'm building a knowledge management system to help quickly resolve incidents. It's been a hands-on experience that has helped me grow both technically and professionally. But more importantly, I've learned how to communicate my ideas clearly within a team, take initiative, and also like adapt when plans change, which happens quite often in the tech field. Being part of this webinar means a lot to me, and I'm truly inspired by the theme, unlocking youth potential. Because if there is one thing I know, and I've learned so far, it's that with the right support and opportunity, young Africans can lead and build the future we all want to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sally Fu. And well, congratulations also, Sally Fu, on the internship.
Thank
So
you.
today we'd like to have this be more of a discussion, and we'll have a lot of time for Q&A. But first, Mr. Suleiman has prepared a short presentation on the topic Africans in Corporate Leadership, Unlocking Youth Potential, as Sally Fu referred to. So Mr. Suleiman, the floor is yours. Oh, you're muted.
Yes. You can hear me now? Correct.
Yes,
And
go
you can
ahead.
see the presentation. So just a second. I think you need to be able to control it. Okay, so it's all set to go. First confession is I'm not really good with speaking from a slide or from reading. So I'm probably going to deviate from here. I have this just to guide me so we don't spend too much time talking and we'll have enough time to have a conversation. I have interpreted this topic in the way that I feel will be meaningful to you. I am starting with the premise that you are so gifted and so lucky that you will solve the basic problems of life. And the things you think about now, you're thinking about now as objectives will come to pass in a period of time. You would be able to have your own homes and you would have, all the basic needs of life. So that cannot be what keeps you awake at night. That cannot be the reason why you want to spend the next hour or two on this webinar, right? There's almost a certainty that for as long as you stay on the path that you are on, you will be able to take care of yourself and possibly your immediate and even extended family. So what you're looking for, the potential we're looking to unlock is not about you or how to live a decent or a good life. I think that is something that you've got a lot of people helping you with, both in terms of what you're learning in school and the mentors that you have. So what am I hoping to leave you here with? First and foremost, it is to focus on what it really means to be a leader. In my experience, and I must add my experience because there are a lot of academic literature that may disagree with me. So this is what I have seen, this is what I have experienced, and this is how I hope I can add to both the body of knowledge that you are currently, learning and exposing yourself to, but also when you do get out there. And this is what I am talking about. My understanding of leadership is that it's not about skills and management techniques. It's not about organizational efficiencies, and it's not about running institutions smoothly. Because a lot of the parameters we use to measure successful leaders simply look at their ability to deliver organizational outcomes. Take on an institution and you improve the performance of that institution and people think you're a good leader. I don't think that is what it is. I think leadership is about believing in something better. That the whole idea of leadership actually starts from what you believe in, what you have the capacity to understand and believe is possible. It is also, and this one is really important, it's about being able to articulate a vision. Because in many cases, there are incredibly gifted individuals who have not yet found the capacity to be compelling. And Why is it important to articulate a compelling vision? Because the way you move from one single individual who believes in something better to a large number of people who are convinced that this is real and attainable is from the articulation of your vision. And so leadership requires that you are a communicator who can communicate and who can articulate first and foremost. And of course, in addition to being able to articulate a vision, even if people believe that there is something better out there, they are looking at you to see if you demonstrate courage. Because when you demonstrate courage, when you put yourself on the line and you demonstrate courage, then people start to trust you. They not only trust that you know what you're thinking and what you have articulated, they trust that you will risk yourself to achieve it. And all of this means that you have finally found a purpose you cannot live without. That's something that is out there that if you're not doing something about it, you're going to be constantly worried, constantly destabilized. You're not at peace until you are doing something about it. And so I said this to my team, that if your ambition does not make you look silly, and if you're not fantastical, if your dreams cannot stop people dead in their tracks, if others can see where you are going effortlessly, you're a manager. You can be an incredibly good manager. You can be one of the most successful people, and you can really, really deliver value. But you're not leading people. You are a manager. You are optimizing resources. And there's a place for that. So when we talk about leadership, it's important that we step back and stop conflating that ability to manage resources successfully and get outcomes, especially financial outcomes, from that innate ability to see something that others cannot yet see. And once you've seen it, to be able to articulate it and convince other people to join you. So the difference between managing the present and leading into the future, because when you are managing, it is what is before you that you are optimizing and making the best of. Leading into the future requires that what you are trying to do doesn't exist. And most of the great leaders you've seen, whether they are people, political leaders have led people to freedom, or the people that have innovated and started things in sectors that were new, you would find that they have an ability to see what is not yet there. And so for me, you cannot lead people to where you are. You can only lead people to where you have never been. And this is terrifying because it means that you are almost as ignorant about the details of the destination as the people you are leading. It's very different if you've been somewhere before and you go back to bring other people and take them to where you've been. That's management. That's experience. I've done this before. I know how it is done. I'm going to get you there. That is excellent management. But leadership means you are looking into the future and thinking, we can do something different that will have impact on the lives of people or stakeholders that has never been done before. Or if it has been done somewhere, it hasn't been done in this environment. That requires courage. So you need to have a vision. And that means you have to be able to not just create an image, you have to paint a picture of a future that people can imagine it, they can see it through your eyes, and they can thirst for it. You have to have the courage. You have to risk something. It's not enough to say you're a visionary and you're unwilling to put yourself at risk. A leader must necessarily put themselves at risk. They must sacrifice something. And of course, ultimately, there has to be a clear purpose for doing all of that. And so leadership is about you and what your life is going to be about. It's not about the company, the journey, the strategy. It is about you as a human being and what you're going to do with the life you've been given. And I've tried to illustrate my approach to leadership by sharing 3 instances where I feel you can connect with and demonstrate why my view on leadership is so compelling for me. And the first one is the family unit. And the case I keep making about the family unit, it's that no parent wants to lead their children to where they are. Even the most successful parents want their children to be better, to get somewhere that they did not make it to. That's down to you not leading people to where you are, but leading them to where you've never been. It's down to something that is not yet there, a future for a child that you can imagine and you can convince your child to look at it. I keep using my example. My mom did not receive a university education, but she made sure that all 7 kids went to university. And the way she did that was to constantly paint a picture of how life will be different if we got educated. That is a leader. And therefore, it's not about certificates or degrees or anything else. It's about that ability to have a vision, convince people, and sacrifice for them. And that's exactly what she did. Of course, the most compelling leadership story is that of the religious faith. And I say that there are 2 of the most compelling stories ever written is the Bible and the Quran. Because thousands of years later, these stories are so compelling that people still believe in them the way they believed it when it first started 2,000 years ago or 1,400 years ago. It is the nature of the story, the compelling nature of the story. And it promises, first it goes into the past and tells a story, but it promises the future. It paints a picture of a future that we all aspire to. That's leadership. And it gives people a purpose, right? And a more current example of how this plays out, it's what I've always, I refer the young people that work with me to this whenever I can, and it's the purpose-centered leadership, the Ikigai. There is a little picture later that demonstrates how this works. And it is about finding the sweet spot between a couple of things that are important in life, which is at the intersection of your mission, your passion, your profession, and your vocation. To find that destination, that is that point where you can pour all your energy into a single thing because you know it captures everything that is important to you. So a leader is someone who has found a purpose, and because of that, they have developed the skills, they've acquired the resources, and they've built the relationship necessary to accomplish the goals. And so I've spoken a little bit about the family as an example of what I think of leadership and how, as a young person, your perspective has to be more than anything else about others. And it's important that we don't limit that to those closest to us, because your capability, your talent is far too much. You've got far too much to limit it to taking care of your extended family, not even just your nuclear family. Even at your extended family, you'll be underachieving. I think of every one of us on this call, the mere fact that you can be on this call places a privilege on you. That 99.9% of people on the continent have never had a chance to be on a call like this. That's the fact. And once you understand that, you realize how privileged you are. So I'll move on a little bit from this, and I'll spend a bit of time on Ikigai. Now, I know some of you have seen this before, and I really like it. I like it because if you look at the outer circles, the intersection between what you love, right? What you love, which is your passion, right? What you're good at, right? What you're really good at, which is your profession, which is what you should be doing for a living. What you're paid for, right? What you're paid for. Imagine an intersection between what you love, what you're good at, and what you're paid for. But most importantly, what the world needs. So whenever you think about your mission, it has to be something. Now, when we say what the world needs, it doesn't have to be the entire world. It has to be your definition of your own universe. If what you've set out to do is to save a village, that becomes the world at that point, finding what they need. And if that intersects with what you love to do, what you care about, and it is something you get paid to do, you can imagine how that plays out. If you ask me, anyone who can successfully draw out this and place themselves in the middle, that Ikigai, that is your purpose. Where the Ikigai is written, think of that as your purpose on earth. Because if you're doing something that you love, it means you are happy. There's joy in doing what you love. And if you're good at it, It means you're not stressed out. It means you're not overworked. It means you're not angry. It means it is not draining you. If you're paid for it, then it's not just a hobby anymore, which means you can put in all of your time. Because if you're good at it, but you're not paid for it, then you still have to find something you're paid for. And then imagine you have all of that, and it is something the world needs. That is your purpose. As a leader, your number one job is to draw out this. Draw this out with the sole objective of finding your ikigai, which is a reason to live. If you look at the Japanese translation directly, iki is to live, and gai is your reason. Imagine that, figuring out your reason to live in such a way that it covers the most important part of your life. Because if it is something that provides and meets all of these needs, then there's almost nothing else for you to do that isn't covered under this. This has been very helpful for me, and I hope you find it useful too if you have not already used this or something similar. And so for me, and I would ask you to please pay attention to this controversial slide that I've put up. I have a quote, and I've been using it, quite frequently. It says that whoever validates you enslaves you. And first of all, let's understand that slavery doesn't necessarily mean that the person abuses you. Sometimes the people you love the most, you are enslaved to them because they control you. You do everything to please them. Sometimes you feel, for instance, enslaved by even your parent because your entire life you're seeking to please them. And whatever they would like you to do is what you do. So validation is exactly how control is exercised. So we live our lives trying to be validated. And as young people on this continent, let's remember this. We need to be careful what we allow and who we allow to validate us. I have tried to separate the two mindsets that I've encountered. What I call the entitlement mindset, which is chained to the past. It's about something that has happened already. It's about somebody owes you something. Conscious
We lost connection. One sec.
of mind, you are neither fit to serve nor capable of leading. Because that is a mindset that does not recognize your own abilities. Or if it does, it takes credit. You take credit for what you are capable of doing. Because if you don't take credit for it, then you will realize at that point that you've actually received more from society than most people, and therefore society owes you nothing. On the contrary, because of the gift that you have, just the mental gift, the intellectual gift that you have, that others don't have, not to talk of the opportunity that you have, you would feel like you owe something. You feel like giving something. And that takes me to the gratitude mindset, which means that you live in the present, you appreciate what is today. Whatever good is happening in your life today, you spend time with it to enjoy it and appreciate it. And you're focused on the future. You are hopeful about the future, because if you appreciate the present, then you would be hopeful about the future. You recognize your privilege. And I can never overemphasize this. Recognizing your privilege, just recognizing that what you have, so many would die to have it. And therefore, because you recognize your privilege, you have a sense of obligation. You have a sense of needing to give back to those who have less, who are gifted less. And because of this, you are now empowered to lead and to sacrifice. Because you gain satisfaction from every opportunity to do something for someone else. And therein lies your superpower, that you derive joy from making someone better. And so we must shift mindset. We sacrifice when we owe. We are entitled when we are owed something. So think about it. Whenever you feel society owes you something, recognize that you are giving up the right to be a leader. And for those who may wonder, I put up this to showcase how entitled, how lucky we are, and therefore how we have no right to feel entitled. In Nigeria, there are 237 million odd people by some estimation. And at this point in time, there are only 3 million, less than 3 million people who are in tertiary education. And therefore, just by virtue of being in tertiary institution, you're already a top 1% of society. Not talking about graduating or the courses that you studied that gives you an advantage, or the fact that you graduated, you have a job. And so we have no right to feel entitled. You recognize your privileged position, you reject the entitlement mentality, you embrace responsibility to serve society, you embrace it, you don't feel it's a burden, you look forward to it. And then you can lead change rather than wait for it. And I say this not just in the private sector sense of you want to start a business, you want to excel in your job. It is also as a public servant, understanding the fact that we are the people who should be changing society for the 99% who do not have this privilege. We therefore cannot be the one that are constantly complaining about circumstances. Because if we're complaining, those who are less gifted, those who are less resourced, have no chance to do anything about it. And so, and I also try to differentiate between service and sacrifice, because it's not every time that you serve that you are leading. I think leadership exists in the realm of sacrifice. One of my favorite writer of all time is Khalil Gibran. And if I was asked in the middle of the night to repeat my favorite quote of all time, it's this. And it says, you give but little when you give of your possessions. It's when you give of yourself that you truly give. And the way to understand it is, it's probably a lot easier for me to have written a contribution check than to be here right now. But I understood that merely writing a little check to support people doesn't amount to truly committing yourself, being present and sacrificing something valuable. The one thing that is incredibly valuable to anyone is time, because no matter how rich or poor you are, we are all entitled to roughly the same amount of time every day. And so anyone who can give part of it is truly making a sacrifice. And so, yes, leadership is service, but for me, more than service, it is sacrifice. It is when you give something of yourself, when you give something that is incredibly valuable to you, not something that you no longer require or might not have needed. The one thing that is certain is that you need every minute of your time. And if you give it up, you give up a lot. And so I'll summarize by saying, when you feel entitled, you are ungrateful, you are owed, you are not likely to lead anyone anywhere. But when you feel that you receive something, either divinely or from society, then you are compelled to give back. And it is in giving back that you become a leader. And so as I round up, let me bring this home to how a young person can embrace leadership. The first, and I think the most important thing, is to recognize that you already have what it takes to succeed as a unit, as a nuclear unit, or even as an extended family unit. You have what it takes. It takes a lot of intellect. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes the good luck to be on the Ashinaga Scholarship. It takes the opportunity to meet people who will mentor you, opportunity to intern in organizations that others might not. That is what it takes, and you have that already. So I cannot come here to tell you what is almost certain to happen in your life as long as you stay on track. I can only come here to tell you to prepare yourself for what must happen subsequently. When you have the middle class life, or even you are achieve your financial independence, you then have to, that's not when to start to think about what to do with the rest of your life. It is now that you must think about it. And to do that, therefore, you must find your purpose. You don't have to use the framework that I've shared. You may already have a framework, but you must have a framework that allows you to look at all of your capabilities, your passion, and come up with, this is the thing that matters. It's not going to happen overnight. It may take years, But the sooner you find it, the one thing that gets you out of bed every morning and you don't feel tired, keeps you awake till night and you don't feel angry, find it. Figure out what it is. But for you to do that and convert that to leadership and to service, you must embrace gratitude, even in the difficult days. I could share a lot of personal experiences with you, but the one thing that I never, ever lacked was gratitude. I considered every small victory worth celebrating because I understood that there was someone out there who didn't get that. Every day you wake up is a gift. And you must commit to sacrifice because the only way you can truly project gratitude is to do something for someone else. And it's not when you are successful and wealthy that you begin to sacrifice. It is every little thing that you do to make someone's life better. That's sacrifice. Every time that you stay on queue and you let someone go before you because the person needs to get there first. It's the simple things. You practice sacrifice so that it becomes part of who you are. But most importantly, you must be willing. You must be willing. You must have the vision to see into the future. You must have the courage to commit to it, knowing that you could fail, but commit anyway. And you must have the conviction to persevere. If you have that, then you are truly a leader. And it doesn't matter what environment you are put into. You are going to take that environment and project it into the future and lead people to it. And so I summarize by saying only those who are willing to give something selflessly can truly lead. Selflessly being the key word. What you do for a compensation, for your bonus, for recognition, so that you can build your interpersonal relationship and all the other valuable things that you need in life, that's not leadership. That's just you being you. That's just you living a life. That's just you building resources, building advantages, building skills. That's fine. That's perfectly legitimate. But for you to become a leader, there has to be a selflessness to it because there is no way. Leadership is not something you negotiate. It's not a give and take. It's a give, 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 and prosper. And when you lead, you would realize very quickly that that is the shortest pathway to the top in everything that you seek. If you're looking for societal respect, if you're looking for even financial success, everything that you seek comes when you truly, truly let go and try to lead for the benefit of the society. So let me thank you once more. Hopefully, I have left us with enough time to be able to answer a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Suleiman. I know you're speaking to our students from across sub-Saharan Africa today mostly, but a lot of universal wisdom in that presentation. Thank you so much. Before we get into the Q&A, I do want to ask, you mentioned Ikigai, that was one of your pillars of leadership, and our scholars and graduates in the room know all about kokorozashi. And so I wanted to ask Louisa to say a few words about kokorozashi as part of the mission of Ashinaga, and also a few words about our founder, Yoshiomi Tamai, who was born in Japan.
Hi, everybody. This is kind of a unexpected way to share very sad news. But I think it would be a perfect way that would make Tamachan, how we used to call him, very, very proud and happy with all of us. Tamai passed away this past weekend. He was surrounded with his family, which is really Ashinaga staff members that grew up being recipients of his Ashinaga program in Japan. His one of the founding concepts of Ashinaga in Japan 50 years ago, but also one of the founding concepts and underlying concepts of the Africa Initiative is finding your kokorozashi and following through by implementing your kokorozashi. So I was very moved to hear about Ikigai from you, Mr. Suleiman, because kokorozashi is at the heart of all that Ashinaga is. Kokorozashi and Ikigai are very similar concepts. The only difference from my ignorant Japanese background is that kokorozashi adds the social impact of your life. So whereas Ikigai focus on joy and finding the meaning of your life, kokorozashi adds the aspect of make sure that your life has an impact in the lives of others. And I think you mentioned that, Mr. Suleiman, you mentioned taking others into account in your life. So it's a really sweet way to honor our founder. And just for the scholars and graduates and friends of Ashinaga who are here in this meeting, we have decided we needed to wait for the official Ashinaga announcement. We will post it on our LinkedIn after this webinar, and we will send you a private email about a few anecdotes about Tamai later today. But we are keeping our grieving private the way he asked, and we are going to honor his wishes in that way. But I thought this was kind of a perfect way to bring your thoughts of leadership and your vision of leadership with Tamai's vision of leadership, because they're so similar. And so it's quite moving for all of us who knew him to hear you say all these things. So thank you. And I will pass the floor again to Lynn and Salifu.
Thank you, Louisa. So we have about 15 minutes for discussion. I think we'll have Salifu kick us off. Do you have a question for Mr. Suleiman?
Yeah, I have a question. My question is one, but then in two parts. The first part is how did you know when you found your purpose? Because there may be like many things you love to do and with effortlessness, but then that's not really your purpose. And then the one you really struggle with and don't love to do is actually your purpose. So how do you know, or how did you know when you found your purpose? And then the second part is we have people who managed to find their purpose with a gratitude mindset, and also like with with the willingness to like sacrifice. But then they are in the loop of finding that vision to like paint a picture of where they wanna go. And what do you think usually like keep people in that loop of trying to find their vision or trying to have a vision in order to be able to like paint a picture of where they wanna go? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Let me take that. It's quite a deep question. It almost requires another presentation. The first time I struggled with finding my purpose was as a younger person, as a teenager, actually. I realized I was really in love with poetry, and I really loved it. I wrote poetry, and I did very well in school. And I thought somewhere in that amount of that passion, that joy was my purpose. But very quickly, my family reminded me that there is no vocation in that, and that if I made that choice, I would have to depend on other people to take care of me for in my adult years. So yes, I might have succeeded as a writer. I might have been able to inspire other people through writing, but because it lacked a vocation, I ended up being forced to study something else in university. Um, but the one thing that has been consistent for me, and I suspect this is as a result of my life experience, is that I've always had empathy. I've always had the capacity to feel deeply about, for other people. And therefore, it was easy for me to stay with the things that improves people's lives. I can't say that there was a specific moment, but I knew I was always discontent because I was a trader. I was a trader with Citibank when it was the largest bank in the world. And what you're trained to do at that point is to win at the expense of other people, win by making a profit. It didn't matter how many people made losses, you just win. But I did that and I couldn't find much joy in it. I remember taking the interview and, the gentleman who would then become my boss asked me about money and what I thought about it. And I was honestly very disinterested. And I remember this because someone else who would become my mentor now said to me that my boss then walked back from the interview and says, I met this young man who is, all of that, but yeah, he's not hungry for money, or he won't have the hunger. And so he asked to interview me, and he then interviewed me and said, no, he really can do this job. It's just not his passion or purpose, right? So you see, it's a situation where I became very good as a trader, but it didn't give me the ultimate joy that I was looking for. What I, however, did was the talent that I have, right? I made sure that I continue to use that talent in whatever I find myself doing. So even as a trader or as a leader, I use whatever skills that I have learned from my passion for poetry. I would use it in my communication. I would use it to advance my day job. So is there a day that I wake up and say, oh, this was when I became aware that I have a purpose? I knew by the time I was 30, I knew that all I wanted to do was to make this continent better. I knew that, and I wrote it down and I said to as many people as possible that that was the most important thing for me. And part of it was because I was also convinced very early that I would make money, that I would have a job, that I would earn money. And therefore that I can't build the rest of my life around making more money. It's the same thing repeated over and over again. It's almost a nightmare scenario for me, right? So that's one. The other point is when you get stuck. So if what you are seeking, your understanding of your purpose has to do with improving the lives or the circumstances of someone else, then in that improvement, no matter how small, is a source of joy. It's your victory dance. Because every day that you did something that makes someone's life better, it's progress. It doesn't mean that you see the entire picture and you feel compelling and you go on the stage and you talk about it. You don't always have that. But you have this little joy every single day. So I'm interested in education. It's every single day of my life, I do something that improves access to education. I feel good, even if the big picture is not yet clear to me. But because you're consistent and because you keep going at it, which goes back to sacrifice. It's painful doing the things that would eventually get you to. It's a bit like, if you are a talented footballer or a sports person, people see you perform on the stage and think you're great, but it is a lot of sacrifice and pain that got you to that level of proficiency. So it's the same thing with your purpose. There's a lot of, I remember when I was offered a job that was going to pay me 4 times what I was earning, but it required me to leave everything that I cared about and move into the oil and gas industry, which I didn't know anything about it. I really didn't care about it. All I would have done is earn a lot of money doing things and I never stood a chance of becoming an expert in that field because I lacked the passion to do the extra time. What makes me stay up awake at night till today or wake up 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning is because I'm incredibly passionate about this. It's not about the pay anymore. I've been my own boss for a long time now, but it doesn't stop me from starting at 3, 4 a.m. because I care, I'm passionate about what I do. So I'm not sure that totally answers your question, but hopefully I open up somewhere, a door to something that you can keep exploring.
Yeah, that was actually a good answer. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I do see some more hands up. When you ask your question, if you don't mind just saying your name and where you're zooming in from, Delvin, go ahead. One of our Ashinaga graduates, by the way.
Thanks, Lynn. My name is Dalvin. I'm from Zimbabwe. Currently, I'm in Seattle, but I go to school. I'm doing my master's at UC Berkeley. So I have a quick question on, I was kind of like looking into your background and I saw that you're very passionate about harnessing like renewable energy that's already existing. So I wanted to ask like how you, some of the ways that you have been able to navigate around implementing these initiatives, considering that I don't know how it is in Nigeria, but in most African countries, I can imagine that there's no government subsidies for either importing some of the equipment or some of the tools that you need to really implement some of these initiatives. So what are some of the ways that you've been able to implement so that you are still able to go forward with your plan of green energy? Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm going to make it very brief. I started supporting renewable energy about maybe 15 years ago when I encouraged my younger brother, who was mid-career trying to figure out what to do next, to commit fully to renewable energy. Today, he runs factories assembling renewable energy components, and he has a workforce of well over 200, just focused on solar deployment, implementation, and all of that. So it first started as a personal commitment and something that I could do with or without government. And then it grew. So on his own part, he built it out into a business, and therefore I could see all of the possibilities. If I didn't get any return from that investment in him, I got the opportunity to learn what works and what doesn't work. The second part of it is that Nigeria was lucky because even without subsidy, you could implement a lot of renewable energy projects successfully and profitably. And finally, when I got the chance, I did something that is groundbreaking. We have the tallest high-rise building on the continent that is powered primarily by solar and is done as a restoration of the building by wrapping the building in BIPV cells. So really difficult because it wasn't designed for it. We had to reconfigure the entire building. So the building now, if you look at our head office, is wrapped up in BIPV cell and generates a substantial part of the energy that we need. We're adding a little solar farm in the car park, and we should be solar first as a source. So yeah, it is incredibly difficult, but if you have the energy inefficiency that we have, like we had in Nigeria, it's a lot easier than if you had already advanced grid systems and the cost to household is already low. We didn't have that.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks for the question, Delvin. Duran, did you have a question?
Thanks, Lynn. And I did have a question. It's a very short one because I think a lot of what Abubakar has outlined is very much around leadership but the challenges of running an organization, right, and moving up the ranks and still having that purpose and drive to convince an entire organization to follow what you believe is your purpose, to follow the view of giving. Sterling has obviously taken on a few students from Ashinaga as interns, and I think this could have a profound impact. But I do think, what challenges have you faced over the course of the last 5-7 years as you sort of moved up the ranks and become a leader within Sterling Bank, trying to convince a management team around, follow your purpose and trying to pass that culture down throughout the entire organization? Because that to me is one of the key challenges that leaders face.
Thank you very much, Duran. I've spent time with some of my most gifted young people, trying to convince them that they are abnormal. And at first it was a bit of they didn't understand where I was going with it. And my argument is that the average person, the thing, if you go through the data, the normal person you're going to see does not have your talent. He does not have your commitment, doesn't have your hunger. That's just a fact you have to accept. So if you find yourself on this call, Abu said you're abnormal because from a statistical perspective, you're not the norm. You're a significant deviation from the norm. And what that means is that you must learn to deal with people who are very different from you. People who are my closest friend and partner was once, one of the things that recording his appraisal every year was that he should learn to manage less gifted peers. And the idea is that you're going to have people who are deemed your peers, but they are less gifted. And so it's the same thing when you become a leader. A lot of people just don't have your hunger, your pace, your capacity, your mental, they just don't have it. And there's nothing wrong with them. You have to accept that and figure out a way to work with them. The day you figure that out is the day you start to actually lead people. Because again, why would they follow you if they get everything you get? If they understand what you understand, then they're not following you. It's a bit like your parent. The reason why your kids are depending on you is that you have all of these capabilities that they don't have, and don't expect them to have it, right? So that's my number one advice. Number two is you must take the pain. When you try to do something creative, innovative, breakthrough, somebody's got to pay a price. Don't assume that you can innovate and nobody pays any price and everybody will innovate. The reason people don't innovate is that it's expensive. It costs somebody something. And in my case, it cost me that opportunity to be a top performing financial leader, someone whose ROEs and ROAs are top of the notch and therefore earns all the great bonuses and all the accolades. I gave that up. And I also gave up a chance to earn a significant payout when I'm exiting, which is something that if you worked in banking all your life, you look forward to it, a huge amount of payout. And I gave it up and asked that it be paid out in equity in the bank so that I put my skin in the game. Right. So you got to be ready to make the sacrifice. Someone is going to pay a price for your dreams, and it better be you. Because I remember I talked about how people would trust you because of the sacrifice. Your courage and your sacrifice is why people will trust you. And once they trust you, then they'll go with you. Even those that you report into your board, your chair, they're all going to trust you because they see that you took the pain. You didn't pass it on to someone else.
That's a wonderful response, Abubakar. Thank you.
I do want to be mindful of time, so I think we'll have our last two questions from Chris, and then Sally Fu, you'll round us off. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Greetings, everyone. My name is Fonye Christopher. I am from Cameroon. I think I'm actually neighbors with our guest here, Nigeria. Yeah, and I'm currently preparing to go to the US to study civil engineering in the University of Bucknell in Pennsylvania. And yeah, I've heard your story and everything, and it's actually very inspiring. But as a student, I have like one question. It's actually something I've been thinking about for the past few weeks. I'm like, what mindset shifts or habits did you have to have that helped you transition successfully from university into corporate and leadership roles? Is it actually something you started harnessing while you were in the university, or is something that you just realized at some certain point that no, I have to be a leader even though I've not been a leader or something like that? Yeah, like how was that transition for you? What were those habits? What were those mindset shifts that actually helped you transition from the university into the corporate and leadership roles?
So my journey into leadership, and a lot of people don't take me serious when I say I never wanted to be the CEO of any institution, definitely not of a large bank. My journey into leadership started with being the one who solved problems. I enjoy it. I genuinely enjoy just making things right. I walk into a room and the painting is hanging and it's not straight. I want to fix it. Who I am. And in doing so, what I found out is that a lot of people then came to me. And it got to a point where I had more information than anyone else in the room because I helped you, I helped him, I helped her, I know who is doing what. I never intended it to be for me. I just enjoy it. So if you can form the habit of being the one who solves problems, there is never an excess supply of people who solve problems. There's always a deficit of that. So that's the first thing, is that you win immediately. You are playing a game where you are the only player. The second thing that then came out of that is I have also been a very curious person. I think curiosity would almost always lead you to becoming a leader, because the inevitable consequence of being curious is knowledge. And the thing about knowledge is that it fits on itself. And the more you know, the more you want to know. And eventually you get to the point where you are the person who knows the most. But at the end of the day, all of that would amount to nothing if you're not willing to take a pain. I mean, I remember when I stopped watching football because I looked at my day in a week and I realized that if I'm going to keep spending 3 to 4 hours every week watching football, I wasn't going to be able to do something else. I remember when I stopped playing golf. I used to play golf. Then my family had traveled. When they returned to the country, I realized that my weekend wasn't enough to play golf and be a good parent. So I gave up golf. So you always be ready to give up something that is important to you. That is the burden of leadership. And I think a lot of people imagine that if they succeed, then they can have everything they want. No, on the contrary, if you succeed, then you can have the most important things in life, but you must give up a lot of other things. So that for me is what you must start today. What are you willing to give up? What are you like? I skip parties so that I can study, right? It's just as simple as that. I love to play basketball when I was in university. I stopped playing basketball because I just needed to study more. So figure out how much sacrifice. That's what would separate one gifted person from the other.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent advice for all of our students, including Chris. Congratulations to Chris. He'll be coming to the US next month to start his university studies. And our last question from Sally Fu, go ahead.
Yeah, it's very short. My question is it likely that a person can have more than one purpose? Why not?
And the answer is yes. The answer is they're just different degrees of things that are calling on to you. So for instance, what people know about me is that I care deeply about education. That's those who know me outside work. At work, they think I care deeply about innovating financial institutions to help people. Privately, they know I care deeply about education. But you know what a lot of people don't know about me? I am incredibly passionate about architecture. It was one of the things that I had the most talent for. I would go and have a fight if I scored less than 100% in technical drawing because I just really thought I knew everything and I cared. And I traveled today and the only thing I'm looking at is architecture. And it is still a purpose. I would like to improve the quality of building and infrastructure and how we live. I like to design building for people. I like to design building that recreates community, design building that bring people together. All of that is in my head and I'm thinking about it constantly. But I'm not equipped enough to make that my primary purpose. So I focus on what is primary to me now. And when I get a chance, like I did with our HQ building, I effectively, design that building in my head and say, this is what I think is possible. Go and find a technical solution for it, right? Because that's another purpose. And I hope that I would find the successors who will take the banking business forward early enough and leave me with enough energy to take on something else and do it as well. So yes, you can have, it's just that you have to find the one that you are best positioned to do well. It's so important to really put, especially your early days, because that success then fits your ability to do the other things.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Suleiman, and everyone for your questions. What a brilliant discussion. I'm so glad we've recorded this so we can share this with everyone in the audience. If there are folks who wanted to come but couldn't, they can hear from Abubakar. And before we sign off, I do want to just put our website in the chat there I see some new names. So thank you all for joining us today. And finally, thank you again, Mr. Abubakar Suleiman, for joining us, for taking on some of our Ashinaga scholars as interns and as, the future leaders of Africa as they're preparing to be.
Thank you, and sorry for your loss. It's so unfortunate, but all we can ask is that we live a good life, and it would seem to me that he lived a really good life.
And we're honored to carry on his legacy in the work we do with our students.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a wonderful week, everyone.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sally Fu.
Thank you, Sally Fu.